Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dela Criss, and we are a family of 5 living in an RV. The RV is like a little under 200 square feet. We bought a little piece of property, moved it on there. We're paying off the rest of our debt. We're gonna save up and we're gonna build our house by ourselves. And one of the most commonly questions that I get, sorry about my voice guys, we're battling sickness over here and allergies, all the things. But one of the common questions that I get is, how did you guys buy land? Like, how did y'all do it? What was the process? And I keep getting that, and I try to answer it in DMs, but if you're a mom, you know it's hard to answer DMs to where they make sense. So I just wanted to do a video kind of telling y'all our process and kind of practically what we went through. I'm not an expert, but I just like to show how we did it, which is always unconventional, because we are in our late 20s, so we're young, I guess, depending on who's watching this video. And I did include minorities because I think that's another barrier to entry a lot of times, just simply because we don't do it often, and we don't a lot of times have people to talk to about the process or to kind of mentor us through the process. So my husband and I kind of had to figure it out on our own. And it is something that we can now walk our kids through, and I want to be able to share with you guys our process. And we've done it all really majority on one income, a modest income, and so it is attainable for you if it's something that you want to do. So let me start with our story. About 4 years ago, we bought a home, our first home, and it was an old home. It was like the carpet smelled horrible, but it was cheap. And so we walked in, instantly caught a vision for the home. We looked at other properties, but that home really stuck to us. It was pretty cheap. We bought it, we lived in it, and we flipped it at the same time. So completely remodeled. To this day, I love that house. Like, I just adore it. We knocked down a wall, redid the countertops, all the things. We completely redid it. And then about 2 years in, really just felt like, okay, now's our time to move. Like, just kind of looking at the market, kind of praying and asking God what he wanted for us next. And so I was like, well, let's just prepare it. Let's post it on the market. My husband and I decided, let's do it. So we posted it on the market, and literally within a week the house sold. So that was just confirmation, like, okay, this was the right time. So we sold the house. We made 40 to 50K off of the house. We paid off debt that we had at the time, and then we spent the rest of the chunk of cash on purchasing our land. So that's kind of where we got our like big chunk of cash, because you're gonna need a chunk of cash to buy property. It's completely different than buying a house, where nowadays you can do FHA, or you can get into some homes, especially if it's a new build, almost zero down. So buying land, though, they consider it like more risky, more like an investment, because I mean, it's not like a home. You don't know what people are going to do with it. So people aren't throwing money at you to get at a land property, really. And I think a lot of it is to create a barrier to entry, because, like, I don't know, land ownership, I guess they see it as very different. So we did have a realtor that sold our home, and we worked with her to buy the land, which I recommend, especially if you don't know what you're doing, like we did it. And so we had the Keller Williams app, and so we would kind of put on there what we were looking for, 2 to 5 acres. We honestly wanted 5, but it was way out of our price range, or we would have to go further out. So that's another tip. If you want more land, go further out from the city, and you can get it for more affordable prices. But just where we are with our family, the season that we're in, we needed to be a little bit closer to the city. So the land that we bought was a little bit more out of our price range, but y'all, we're 15 minutes from like 3 or 4 major cities around us, which is such a blessing. And what we did that made our land, even though the location was great, made it more affordable, is I tell people all the time, our land isn't like a sexy piece of property. So it's not like, oh, we're living on 2 acres and you can look down and, like, you know, there's roads and roads of just, like, I don't know, trees and stuff, what I imagine land would be. Like, we're in between, there's like some water tanks near us, and even under our property there is like a water line that they ran under, so you can't build on that section, but it's just that section, it's not the whole property. And so it made it fall more into our price range. And also another thing that I need to mention is that if you need to know whether the land is developed or not, or like what's on there. So there may be electricity on there, there may be water on there. That is something that we had no idea, and I shared this in my other video, the amount of money it would take, the amount of patience it would take, the amount of effort it would take. So of course you're going to be charged more for a piece of land that's already developed, but that might save you money in the long run, depending on how fast you're trying to get on the property. Or sometimes I feel like you save more money simply because people don't want to go through the effort of knocking down trees. Again, using what you can to get, what you want to get. We knew that we weren't scared of work. We weren't scared of knocking down some trees, renting a tractor, or it wasn't a tractor, whatever it was. And we did the manual work. So that's another place where you can kind of cut costs. Versus if there's like a flat piece of property, already all the trees are knocked down, the water, the well's dug, the electricity's there. That's going to cost more, but if you need that, then you just need to budget for that. But for us, we didn't need that. We knew that we could figure it out. So we used our manpower to save money and costs on that end. So that's something to look at when you're looking for your property. Are you looking for something that's already tapped and developed? Ours wasn't. So that's something to look at when you're looking for a piece of property. And also knowing, does city water run there? I had to go to the downtown office to see if city water ran, and city water did not run to us. So if that's something you need, then you need to look into that. You need to look into how much it'll cost to dig the well. Near us, there's like some water that's like really good water. And that well would have costed us $30,000 to dig. So you really need to look and see, where how much is it going to take to dig a well? Like, really do your research, because I don't want you guys to get stuck in a piece of property that that you can eventually not use because it's just really, really out of your price range. We're so blessed that even some of the things that we didn't know, we didn't check, I really feel like God covered us in that, because we could have really gotten stuck or in a hard place. And so just really looking into that, how much is it going to cost? Our property, even though it was so close to electricity, we had no idea it was going to be expensive they needed to add a transformer and do all the things. And so your property may be super close to electricity, so you won't have to do all of that. But just really look into electricity, look into water source, look into laws, and things that are already placed on the land, because that's going to determine a lot of cost too. So there's a lot of research, a lot of legwork that needs to go into that. But I would say water, electricity, and what are the building rules and restrictions on the property, and does that align with the vision that y'all had for the land? Okay, let's talk about funding. So we needed to get funding because we didn't have the complete cash for the property, but we knew we loved it. We knew that we would do something like an alternative way of living, like we are now in an RV, to make sure that we could pay it all down, and it'll be something that our family can afford. So we had to seek out what they call a land loan. And I'll be really honest, these are really hard to come by and they're really challenging to get approved for. So first of all, a lot of people don't offer it. You'll have to check with your credit union. I think BBVA offers one. They're just really old school, I guess, and really risky, so people just don't offer it. And you're gonna have to have a bomb credit score. So I would say you need to aim for like 750 at a minimum. And so we had to seek out a land loan. Once we got it, the process was just long and it drug out. They wanted to make sure we didn't owe anybody anything. They dug up like a hospital bill from years ago, so we had to pay for that, because really it's their terms. They decide what it is they're going to do to make it something that we're approved for. So that's why I just felt like, man, there's so many barriers to entry. Anyways, we were able to secure the loan, put in our offer. Thank God. It was just a hard situation. So either you're going to have to make sure I recommend both, but making sure your credit's in line and making sure you just have a big chunk of cash. So just really getting your finances in order, because man, and there's no FHA. Like the process was just so much easier for us to get into our home than it was to secure this land. So once we secured it, we got in, we knew all the requirements. So ours was outside the city limits, and I recommend you figuring out, is yours outside the city limits? Are there building requirements? Because there was some land that we were looking at, it was cheaper than the land that we bought now, like significantly cheaper. But they had building requirements, and the building requirement was minimum of a 3,500 square foot house. Y'all, that's a lot of house. And so we were like, what? Like, and you had to build that right off the bat. You couldn't, there was no living in an RV. Like, they had strict requirements simply because they wanted the neighborhood to be a certain way. And I get that. But we weren't, like, no, that's not our goal. So you really need to look into the fine print of that. So that's how we got into our land. That's why we're in our RV. We're taking it slow. Like, we're just doing what we need to do to get, and like, you can get creative. Whether that's you're going to live tiny to save up your money. Owning land was just a dream of ours, and it's still a dream of ours to own like a bigger property one day. But we're just taking it step by step. And that's my biggest thing, is like doing what you feel like God has laid on your heart, what you're called to do, but getting creative, using what you have in front of us. And that's what we did. We could remodel a house. We knew we could handle that. That's what we had in front of us. And living in an RV, like, it gets tough. I'm not going to lie. I tell y'all that. I'm very open with y'all in our videos. But anytime we walk out of that RV and we're walking on our land, my girls are playing or we're working on something, like, it just feels like such a blessing, to be able to own it. Like, if anything were to happen with our kids or in the future and they needed to come home or they needed somewhere to stay, they have a place to do that. And so we just feel really, really, really blessed to have it. And so you can do it. It may look different. You may have to get creative, like we did, but you can totally do it. And so if you have any more questions, like if I can be any more clear on anything that I said, please comment below. I love answering your questions. I love seeing that some of y'all are moving in this direction and really doing the thing for yourself. Yeah, comment below. If this was helpful for you, please, 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 please subscribe. Join our family. Tell me about your journey. I love learning about you guys' journey. We're still on our journey to 1K. So subscribe. Introduce yourself in the comments. I love getting to meet you guys. I hope this was super helpful for you guys. Love y'all. Bye-bye.